Third element in the erect and dismantle formwork for footings and slabs on the ground is your stripping of your formwork. Okay, it's mostly a practical element. So when you're trying to get your competency, this is the stuff that you need to demonstrate. It's not so much. It is about knowledge of it, but you're applying your knowledge when you're actually doing your formwork and removing your formwork. Number one performance criteria for stripping formwork is that edge boxing, bracing, strutting supports are removed sequentially and safely. Sequentially means in the right order. You don't go just ripping at your formwork like crazy. And I've seen people do that where they just go in and they just start tearing all the formwork off. And it doesn't work that way. You've actually got to work your way around and take it off so that you're taking off the bracing in the right order, making sure all screws are removed, that you've got your pegs out of the way, and that you can peel your formwork away in the right order so that it won't damage your slab. Because the last thing you want to do is try taking the formwork off too quickly, or in cases where people can get impatient with it, they'll start just smacking at the formwork, or they'll smack at the peg if they can't pull it out that easily, or if they can't get the screws, they start just hitting at it. And I've watched students do that. You want to make sure that you don't do that, because that's not the performance criteria that you need to do for this. So when it comes to stripping back the formwork, you're doing it in a specific order. You're undoing the screws for pegs and of the forms, and then taking the parts off one by one and stacking them while you're going so that you don't have this giant mess to try and clean up later. Number two for performance criteria, your timber components are denailed, cleaned and stored or stacked safely for reuse or removal from site. When you're stripping your formwork, you're removing all of the nails out of the formwork, or all the screws, depending on what sort of process you've been using. You don't want to go laying your formwork down with all of those sticking out, because they can get damaged, they can get broken off in the formwork, and that ruins the formwork for future use. Okay, and then you need to make sure that you're stacking your formwork, hopefully for reuse. You'll often see concrete trucks driving around and they've got a whole stack of timber formwork stacked on the top of their truck, because they use it over and over and over again. Because otherwise, if you've got to keep buying new formwork, then the cost of all your jobs will have to go up, because you don't have the resource to use again. There are times when you can't use the formwork again, and that could be because it's gotten damaged by the concrete, or it's been damaged as it was being taken off, or it was a piece of formwork that had to be cut down for a specific purpose on this slab, and so you can't go using it on other areas. It's usually the longer pieces of formwork then you're going to keep trying to reuse. Cleaning is another part of that. You want to try and make sure you get all your concrete residue off your formwork before you go stacking it as well, because if it dries harder, then you get to your next job, you've got little chunks of concrete on it that you've got to try and get off later. Steel components are cleaned, oiled and stored or stacked to manufacturer's maintenance recommendations. So steel components, they could be pegs that you've used, they could be extra bracings for if you've got steps and that sort of stuff, and they get splashed with concrete as the process was being done. The steel components will corrode and rust if you don't be careful. There's a lot of water in concrete, and so there's going to be a lot of water getting onto your steel. Concrete is very corrosive and will rust away metal components if you don't clean them properly. And so cleaning them off, oiling them, helps to protect them from rusting later on. And this is mainly talking about the components, not the tools, because you clean the tools when you're actually doing your concrete pour. So this is more to do with just stripping down the formwork after all of the pour has been done. Damaged formwork components are safely discarded after stripping. So if there is formwork that did get damaged either during the pour or during the stripping process, like a screw got stuck in it, or it got broken when they were trying to take it away, there was a bit of an awkward, and it snaps, you want to make sure that's being disposed of properly. So if there's a broken one, it goes into a barrow to go down to a skip bin or something like that, wherever the damaged formwork material, any of the waste material on site is going to go. You don't just leave it lying around the ground, because then it becomes a trip hazard and somebody else's job to try and clean up later.